The year was 1989, and things sure are different. Nintendo launched the original Game Boy. Down came the Berlin Wall. I was born! And somewhere out on the west coast of the USA, a group of misfits were doing their absolute best to carve out a sonic identity that would carry them towards major label success. Largely indebted to the dying California hair metal scene that surrounded them, some of these kids would eventually become Grammy Award winners with the group Weezer. Whilst fans of the band and close associates have spent 3 stellar decades documenting vital information about the group, there is one early project that boasts a thin Weezerpedia page, a single 1990 recording that quietly leaked 3 years ago, and not much else. Today in Untold Weezer, we take a deep dive into the lost origins of Matt Sharp's little-known goth trio by catching up with Hershel Burton.
My name is Dr. Hershel Burton. I'm a musician.
The now Dallas-based multi-instrumentalist who was a key member of the short-lived project. Hear Hershel speak about the bassistless Weezer, auditioning as the new singer for No Doubt, and working at a newspaper with Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots. But first, let's hear how Hershel and Matt met to form the Clique.
Matt Sharp and I, we met at, of all places, we met at a BRC meeting. The BRC is the Black Rock Coalition, started by Vernon Reid of Living Color. It was a Sunday afternoon at UCLA in Westwood Village. He was funny because he stood out oddly, not because he was a white dude, but he looked like he was a kind of really goth, like he was a goth dude at a Black Rock Coalition meeting. And so he caught my attention. He was wearing a Cure short and some sweats and some black faded Vans, and his hair was all messy. I walked up to him and he told me, I play guitar, I play bass as well, and then I'm trying to get a band. He lived in the area, but we met Keith Harris, the drummer, and Keith was dating a young lady who was a fly girl. She was a dancer on In Living Color, and she danced with Jennifer Lopez. And we got together and we started to jam songs, and we were writing stuff and figuring out what kind of direction we wanted to go in. Matt at the time was working at the time he was living near UCLA, and he was working at a tanning salon, and one of his clients came in who was a producer and had an opportunity for us to write a song, some music for a soundtrack for a movie. It was going to be called Ice Butterfly, actually. The story of Randy Gardner and Ty Babylonia. They were figure skaters. They were really, really good. And it was basically the story about their meeting, their struggle, and their just their competitive drive. That's what the song was really going to be about, because they were going to do a made-for-TV movie about their story. Once they asked us to record a song, our trajectory leaned more towards really focusing on nailing that song. So the other things we were writing as a trio, we kind of put on the back burner, because we're like, this might be our opportunity to get some momentum. Then if that gets us where we need to be, then we can put our energy back into these other songs that we're writing. I was into like the Sundays, the playing that they were doing, what I came up with for it, because I was also listening to you too, was came up with the guitar, and then Matt had that thumpy bass thing, and then we just started to build on it. Matt had the low poetic voice, and Keith had this real soulful voice, and I just harmonized with Keith, and that's how it came about. We rehearsed at a space, and we rehearsed next door, right down the hallway from the guys who were forming Weezer. So we would all go to our rehearsal space, work on our songs, and the guys from Weezer were working on their stuff, and at the time they didn't have a bass player. And so Matt and Pat they knew each other and familiar, and that's when Matt started to put a lot of his energy into the Weezer project, which we understood. I think Keith and I understood, because Matt was going into a different kind of direction, and it was, we understood it, and it wasn't a hard feeling thing. We were all still friends. Matt and I kept in touch for some time, and as the second album, I saw him here in town. He came to Dallas, and actually went and saw him, and we met up. And he was just the funniest person. He would just say and do things that were just so off the cuff, and he would just have us cracking up. He joined Weezer. That kind of quirky personality fit really well in the Weezer thing, you know, that kind of nerd rock thing. He just fit right into that groove. So I was really happy for him. I was approached by a couple of members of No Doubt to audition for No Doubt. What happened, Gwen Stefani had a co-singer. They would play off of each other. Well, sadly, he committed suicide. And so they were looking for someone to replace him. They were a really cohesive band. Gwen's brother was the keyboard player in the band. They just got their drummer. He was probably 17 or 18 years old. And Tony was in the band, and then the guitar player. Anyway, they were looking for a singer. I auditioned for them down in Orange County. It was like 5 or 6 songs. They were really super cool. And if I had my answering machine, I'd play. But they decided to not go on with they felt they couldn't replace that person, and they decided not to go on. They were just going to let Gwen lead. Around the time they got their Interscope deal. But her brother left. He didn't want to perform anymore. And at the same time, he got a job with a animation company in Hollywood that did Ren and Stimpy. They kind of resurfaced as a different kind of band, but I was honored for them to see me perform and to have me audition to be in their band. Scott Weiland and I from Stone Temple Pilots, he and I worked at a newspaper company called the Daily Journal. We worked there together for a good 2.5 years. And we used to hang out, and he'd come see my band. I'd go see his band when they were called Swing, and then after they were called Swing, they were called Mighty Joe Young, and then the people that signed them were like, that's not going to work, and so then they changed it to Stone Temple Pilots. But yeah, Scott was a super cool guy, very super friendly person, and you know, when he got signed with Stone Temple Pilots, he still would come out and see the Truce. He'd come out and see us play, and was really supportive. And then, they went to Seattle to do their stuff, to do their videos and whatnot. And then that was Scott, you know. And then he unfortunately and sadly, you know, we've lost a great frontman. I was working at the Daily Journal, where Scott Weiland and I worked. And our creative department had just gotten brand new Apple computers. At the time, they were the next level Apple computers, and so Matt and I went in on a Saturday. One of the editors was in there on a Saturday, and I said, "Hey, can I play around with the computers?" And they were like, "Yeah, come on in." And I basically, we got on there, Matt and I, and we opened up the Mac Paint or whatever it was, and I said, "What should it be like?" He goes, "Just kind of asymmetrical and squiggly, and just something like, just something really abstract, and just, you know." And I said, "Okay." So we played around, you know, I sat around and messed with it, and we came up with something, and he goes, that's going to work right there. So we sat, figured out our typeface, our font, and then we were like, "Hey, let's run with this, man." And he goes, "All right, let's do it." So that's how the artwork. We did some shows together. We did some showcases together. You know, you're talking about when you say showcases in Los Angeles, you know, you're talking about you're getting 30 minutes on stage, and so you're just playing a small catalog of songs. But yes, I know that somewhere I've got some black and white 8x10s of a bunch of pictures of Matt, myself, and Keith somewhere in my files of stuff. But and I was looking for them, but I could not find them. But yeah, we did photo shoot. We did the recording. We pressed our cassette and we sold it at some of the mom and pop shops that were in LA, Vinyl Fetish. And we had a poster that we made, and like a lot of other bands were doing out there to kind of get your stuff in people's hands. Matt sold them also at the tanning salon where he worked at. He was working at a tanning salon in Westwood we're in UCLA, and all these beautiful young, co-eds are his clients, along with whoever else, the Hollywood, the socialites and whatnot. And yeah, he would push hey, there was this awkwardness about him, but it was also kind of this, like an awkwardness, but he was also very, very, very sure about, like, yeah, this is who I am. Like, I'm kind of like this. I'm kind of quirky, but it's what works. And when he did the Rentals project, that's when I saw him really get to be his concept of what he wanted a music project to be. Yes, Weezer is a huge band, and he had a great opportunity to have a tenure there. But the Rentals thing was more Matt's. It was Matt's Talking Heads. You know, if Matt could have a Talking Heads band, you know what I mean, or his own version of like a B-52s, then that's what the Rentals were.
Thanks so much to Hershel for sharing info on an interesting project lost to time. And now, in full, it's the Clique with Ice Butterfly.
Farewell to the oh so precious.